All right, we're here back at Aces. Today is their 1 year anniversary as well as birthday for one of the owners. His name's One Hand Mike. If you're familiar with San Antonio Poker, you know he was a dealer. He's also been featured on Andrew Nini's vlog way back when he came, I think the first time to San Antonio, and you see him dealing with one hand. It's One Hand Mike. So we're here for their 1 year anniversary poker tournament, $3,000 guaranteed, $20 buy-in. I know it's small, but hopefully this will help us in our bankroll. And let's go. Let's see what it's about. Alright, welcome back to the channel. Starting this tournament off with 15K starting stack. I went ahead and did 2 dealer appreciations, bringing my total up to 45K to start and in for $40. There's a lot of hands to go over, so forgive me if I go fairly quickly through these hands, but I'm trying not to make 2 vlogs out of this. But if it's too long, I'll make 2 vlogs and I'll let y'all know. So we're gonna kick this vlog off with blinds being a 100, 200 with a 100 big blind ante. Middle and early position end up limping. Your boy is in the small blind looking down at 10-9 offsuit. I go ahead and make the call and the big blind checks. 4 ways to a flop, which comes King 10-4, which ends up being checked around. Turn comes an ace. Early position bet 700 and only I just make the call. Looking to a river, which ends up coming a beautiful 10 offsuit. I think I made a mistake here by leading out 4K. Maybe I should have checked and let him go ahead and continue bluffing and then raise him. But I went ahead and just bet 4K and he ends up folding pretty quickly. So off to a good start the first hand. Next few hands are basically the same thing as this previous hand. I had Queen 9 where I flopped a queen. Bet it on the turn and everybody folded. It was a little too much. I think I'm missing some betting spots, or at least my betting is off. But the next hand following, I had Jack 9 offsuit, called a raise from early position. Flop came Jack 7-8, checked around, a blank on the turn. I'll go ahead and lead out for 4K. When I get raised by early position to 10K, I make the call. River is an offsuit 5. I check, he bets 10K. I didn't really want to call. Something told me not to, but I just went ahead and did reluctant call, and he ends up showing pocket 8s for a flop set. And those feelings come back into play in this hand, which ends up being blind levels at 300, 600, 300 big blind ante. Low jack raises to 2500. I go ahead and call in the cutoff with ace jack of spades. Don't want to overplay this hand. Yes, it is a good hand, but in this configuration, having a few players behind me who like to play aggressively, I just go ahead and call. So does the button and the big blind. 4 ways to a flop, which comes Queen Jack Ace. Let's go. Big blind leads out for 2K. The low jack and me both make the call. The button, however, has other ideas, and he ends up making a raise to 6,000. The big blind calls, and now for some reason the low jack ends up raising 22K. Now I'm really kind of contemplating on what's going on. Not liking the action in front of me. Having 2 pair on this kind of board is good, but it's not great. After tanking for a little bit, I go ahead and make the squeaky type fold. Not just having a bad feeling about it overall. Usually in my experience, these kind of players do not bluff too much, especially on the turn, to be making these kind of bets. I mean, what is he really bluffing here? Not much. So I go ahead and make the fold. The button calls. Now their heads up to a turn, which ends up coming at 5 of diamonds. Low jack ends up bidding 15,500. The button moves all in. Low jack snap calls. He shows ace 10 of diamonds. The button, he shows king 10 offsuit for the flop straight. I'm glad my intuitions are playing very well right now. If he had just called on the flop and not raised into where low jack was going to end up 3-betting him, I probably wouldn't make the call. But as played, they go ahead and go down to the river, which ends up coming a 6 of hearts. So king 10 holds up, and so does my intuitions. I think I'm going to play good today. In this next hand, blinds are still 300, 600 with a 300 big blind ante. There's an early position limp, and I'm in a low jack looking down at pocket queens. I'll go ahead and raise to 2,500. Think it should have been more, but I just raised it to 2,500. The hijack right next to me ends up re-raising to 5K. Folds around to early position, who goes ahead and makes a call. Now I'm contemplating on what exactly he's 3-betting with, because he's like, old man coffee kind of person. He must have some mid pair to ace queen suited kind of hand. I'm thinking if he had ace king, pack of jacks, especially aces kings, he would have shoved. As for early position, I didn't think he had much since he limped and then he just made the call. He just wants to see a cheap flop. So with that all information and me thinking about it, I just go ahead and rip it all in. The hijack ends up thinking about it for a little bit, and he goes ahead and makes a call. And just like I thought, early position really didn't have anything, he just goes ahead and makes a fold right away. The hijack ends up showing pocket tens, and it's heads up to see 5 cards. The flop ends up coming 7-4 king with 2 clubs. Okay, still in the lead. Turn, a beautiful queen. And with that, I end up sealing the deal. We got it in good and finally held. And this is the hand that ends up kickstarting a little sun run. When this hand happens, the cutoff limps. I'm in the small blind, look down at pocket sixes. I'll go ahead and just limp. Some people tend to 3-bet this. I've been studying a little bit more, and apparently you're supposed to call a lot of these small pairs, medium pairs from the small blind, and which I end up doing. But the big blind ends up having some other ideas and raises to 2,500. The cutoff calls, and I do the same. 3 ways to a flop, which comes 10, 9, 10 with 2 spades. I end up checking. The big blind ends up betting 3,500. I go ahead and just make the call, and it heads up to a turn, which comes a deuce of spades. I go ahead and check, and so does the big blind. Down to the river we go, which ends up coming a 4 of spades. I know I have a 6 high flush, but at the same time, I think I could maybe get some value, targeting 8s and 9s and maybe some high cards. So I end up betting 8,000, going for that extra thin value. If he ends up raising, I could just easily fold. But in this case, he ends up making a call and we win with our 6 high flush. After that hand, I started winning some small little pots here and there, raising and take 'em kind of hands. And now our stack's up to 156,000, which ends up coming to the next hand of value. The blinds are 500, 1,500 big blind ante. 700 when it folds to me in the cutoff, looking down at queen 9 offsuit. I'll go ahead and raise to 3,000. The button and the small blind end up making a call. Big blind was like, nah. I'll go ahead and raise it up to 8,000. But like that's not going to do anything because the button, and the small blind end up making a call. Takes it up to a flop of jack 2, 8 with 2 spades. Big blind continues betting for 15,000, and only I make the call. Heads up to a turn, which ends up coming a very nice 10 of diamonds. And better yet, the big blind ends up betting 15,000. I'll go ahead and call. Don't want him scaring off from any bluffs he has, or maybe just a high card, queen jack or something like that. So I just go ahead and make the call, and the river ends up coming a 3 of hearts. The big blind ends up continuing making me happy, betting 20K. I tank for a little bit, thinking of what to do, kind of leveling myself about, what would look bluffy, what would look value heavy, or anything like that. And I know I make a mistake here because in the moment I thought grabbing 100K of my stack and just put it in the middle would look a little more bluffier. but I was wrong. He ends up folding. Again, I end up missing those value bets that I need to do. I think 50K would have done a better job. After that hand, I really didn't get much. I basically folded my way to the break, which we end up having 227,000 to start after the break. All right, so we're on first break. Slow start, but end up finishing strong, at least for first break. 227,000, I believe, going into the next blind levels. Playing okay, getting lucky. I guess that's also what you need for some poker tournaments. But I think I'm playing a little bit better than last time. I'm starting to fold a lot of hands, starting to not call so light, and let's see what happens. It's a lot of people here. It's a packed house, which is great for them. Happy for them. They're gonna give away free Chinese food, so I already ordered mine. See how that goes. I like the way I've been playing, folding a lot of hands I normally would call, as well as folding hands I would call light. So we're getting it done. So let's see what happens. There's I think 40 something players that are in right now. So let's see if we can outlast them. Let's see how it goes. What else? Oh, after that last hand with Queen 9, I guess I upset the player I was against for trying to take a picture of the board, or at least a video of the board, which I understand, but I do it quickly so that it doesn't interrupt flow, as well as, at least I get to know what the board is, because sometimes the hands keep coming quickly and I don't even know what the board was or anything like that, and so I can give an accurate detail exactly what's going on in this poker tournament. My notes are kind of scattered. Sometimes when it happens so fast, I just say check Queen 9 hand, Queen 9 offsuit hand, or just vary any details that I can. But yeah, that's the only reason why I take a picture of the board. If you get offended, I'm sorry. It's not interrupting flow of the game. So I mean, if you're getting tilted because of that, and I'll let you know I was vlogging, then please don't get upset. But other than that, let's see how it goes. Let's go back inside and let's run it up some more. After the break, this fun hand happened. The blinds are 1,000, 2,000 with the 1,000 big blind ante. Folds around to the hijack, who ends up going all in for 7,000. I'm in the cutoff looking on an ace jack offsuit. I'll go ahead and raise to 20K. And the button has other plans. He ends up just grabbing some sort of chips and just stacking them in the middle. Folds around back to me. I asked for a chip count because that's kind of, I guess, what I was trying to do in the other hand, just grab a stack of chips. But in this hand, I just got one of those feelings again, like he's not BSing or just trying to isolate or whatever the case may be. So I ended up making a fold, and it's a good thing we did, because button ends up having pocket aces. The hijack ends up having pocket sevens. They're both off to a run out, which ends up coming 2 jack 2, 9 on the turn, and a queen on the river. Good thing he didn't just raise and I call, because as soon as I flop that jack and I bet, or he shoves, I'm gonna call. So thank you to him for making that move and having me fold. Off to the next hand of note. The blinds here are 2,000, 4,000, 2,000 big blind ante. At this point, I end up having 180K in my stack. We're six-handed. Everybody limps. I'm in the big blind looking down at King 10 of diamonds. I'll go ahead and raise it up to 7K. And of course, everybody calls. So 6 ways to a flop, which comes King 2 ace. I continue betting to 13,000, trying to represent that ace. And the hijack, button, and the small blind end up making a call. At least we dueled it down the field a little bit. Still 4 ways to a turn, which ends up coming another 2. Thinking I would have heard from an ace by now, or at least raise or anything like that, I'll go ahead and continue betting to 30K, and only the hijack ends up making a call. Heads up to a river, which comes a 6 of spades. I'll go ahead and check to him to see what he's gonna do. I mean, I have a king, so I'm just trying to get down to a cheap showdown, but that's not gonna happen. He ends up moving all in. So now I'm in the blender thinking of what could he have. I really think he would have bet on the turn, at least if he had an ace to go ahead and raise or something. There are some missed draws. I mean, just his line's not making any sense. So all that being said, I end up making a call, and we end up getting showing Queen Jack of Spades. Again, my intuitions are really on today. I ended up being card dead for a little bit, having either being in the big blind, having some hands to play with, or end up calling and just folding on the flop until this nice hand happened. We are 6-handed, blinds are 3,000, 6,000, 3,000 big blind ante. The low jack limps, folds around to me in the small blind. I look down at ace king of spades. You know I'm gonna end up raising this to 26k, but the big blind ends up going all in. Ends up folding back to me, and of course I end up calling it off. Big blind ends up showing ace queen offsuit. Now end up seeing 5 cards. The flop comes 7, 2, 3 rainbow. Turn comes a 6, and the river ends up coming in ace. So we end up holding and bringing our chips up. After that hand, I end up winning one hand with king jack offsuit, flopping a king. And then the very next hand, I end up winning with pocket tens, betting on the turn on a queen, queen 9 board. It's really nothing much to say about those hands. They were just real quick. Our chip stack ended up coming way up to 510,000 in chips.
All right, that was crazy. Those last flurries of hands, just kind of crazy. So into the break in end of registration with 510,000 chips. I think that's like 60 big blinds or something like that. I forget what the blinds are going to be when we come back, but overall I think I'm playing well. It's a packed house today. I had a fun event. Didn't get to try the Chinese. It ran out before I was able to get some, and we're gonna see what the following levels brings. Let's see what the prize pool is going to be at the end. There's a lot of people in here.
All right, after the break end up happening, we end up coming back to 6-handed. Blinds are 8,000, 16,000, 8,000 big blind ante. Folds around to your boy in the cutoff, looking down at ace queen offsuit. I'll go ahead and raise it up to 40k. The small blind ends up moving all in real quick for 250,000. Folds around back to me. I end up snap calling this. I actually should have thought about it a little bit just to give it some pause and end up thinking it through, but I had a real good feeling that this player in particular was just shoving all in with an ace high or king high, maybe even queen, or maybe even a pair, but either way I'm either flipping or way ahead. And sure enough, he ends up showing ace 4 offsuit. We end up seeing 5 cards, which the flop comes 7, 10, 6, king on the turn, and a jack on the river, giving us Broadway. Not that we needed it, but it was nice to have. I was doing good up until this hand happened. You ever played a hand and then think back and like that was such a stupid ass move? Like, I don't even want to share it. It was so stupid, but I gotta have to because this is how bad I am. There's a low jack limp. I'm in the hijack looking down at 9-8 suited. I'll go ahead and raise to 50k. Folds around back to the low jack, who ends up calling. Ends up being heads up to a flop of 7-5-3, 2 spades, 1 club. She ends up checking to me. I do something really stupid. I don't know. I still don't know why I did it. Maybe it was a winning tilt, or maybe it was just a brain fart in the moment, but I kind of went all in. Yeah, I went all in the stupid hand, thinking that I can make her fold. She ends up tanking for a while, actually a good while, and she ends up making the call with queen jack of spades. Like, why she want to not call this off or anything like that. Anyways, off to 2 cards, which ends up coming a deuce of diamonds and then a 4 spades on the river. And I really don't even know why the hell I did that.
How much?
Like, I don't know to this day. But we end up dropping way down to 178k, giving us 11 big blinds at the time. It's a level later. The blinds are a 10k, 20k, 10k big blind ante. Still 6-handed. I have 162k, giving me about 8 big blinds. There's a cutoff limp. Small blind calls. I'm in the big blind looking down at king 9 offsuit. Looks good enough for 8 big blinds, so I move all in. Folds around to the small blind, who ends up calling. Ends up having pocket 5s. Let's see if we can get something here. The board ends up coming 10, 9, 4. Let's go. Flop at 9. There's going to be a 4 on the turn and a queen on the river, so we end up holding with king 9. We end up getting lucky there. Now our stack's up to 320,000, 16 big blinds. Moving right along to the next hands, blinds are still 10, 20, 10. I'm in the hijack looking down at pocket 8s. I'll go ahead and raise it up to 55k. The cutoff ends up moving all in for 153k. Folds around to the big blind, who ends up making a call. This is a hand I wish I had back, because thinking about it now and even thinking about it in real time, I should have just moved all in. But I got gun shy. I don't know why. I just started thinking about monsters underneath the bed, and I end up making a call instead of shoving all in. This should have been a shove. But as played, 3 ways to a flop, which comes king 9-5 rainbow. The big blind ends up moving all in. I think about this for a little bit. I really think that she really is not going to be doing this with anything other than a king. Again, I'm kicking myself in the butt because I should have shoved all in pre-flop, and I end up making a fold. And sure enough, she ends up showing ace king. The cutoff ends up showing ace 10 offsuit. The turn ends up being a 9 of hearts down to the river. And what do you think about? Ends up coming an 8. I couldn't control myself. I normally try to stay composed and try not to give away anything, but in the moment I just couldn't help myself. There were 48 entries into this tournament. Price pool ended up being 3,670. Not bad for a $20 buy-in tournament. Shortly after that last hand, we end up combining tables, and we end up being 9-handed. The blinds end up being 20,000, 40,000, 20,000 big blind ante. When this hand happened, I have 111,000 in my stack. There's an early position limp. Folds around to me on the button, looking down at king 10 offsuit. Looks good enough for me for 2 big blinds. So I end up moving all in. The big blind calls, and early position ends up calling. We end up seeing 3 ways to a flop coming 6, 7, 7. The big blind checks, and early position ends up moving all in. Of course, the big blind ends up folding, and early position shows 6, 8 of hearts. We need to improve, dealer. Come on. Turn comes a jack, and the river doesn't help either. River ends up being a 9 of clubs. And just like that, we are out the tournament.
Yeah, I know. All right. So we are out the tournament. Oh, that was such a fucking dumb move, dude. That was a dumb move with the 9-8 of clubs. And then the move that I was supposed to do with the pocket 8s, I chickened out and I would have hit the boat. That's one of the things I should have done. Yeah, was playing great. Was playing good and getting lucky at the same time. So I think I was doing all right. But like I said, it was just one of those things, like that one fucking dumb play. I don't know what it was about or why I did it, but it is what it is. So yeah, I don't know what to say. Disappointed in myself with that one play. There's always one stupid play, one really stupid play in the whole thing, and sometimes I make more. This time it was just basically that one, and it cost me big time. So it is what it is. I'm not gonna dwell on it too much. Maybe go over some stuff in my head and in the lab, but yeah, I can't even talk to it. I keep thinking about how disappointed it is. But if you like the videos, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Like I said, I'm no pro. I'm not trying to say I'm one. I'm just learning, and this is my journey. Sometimes it's mess up journey, sometimes it's exciting journey. In this case, just disappointing. Anyways, yeah, that's all I got. See y'all later.